and new, welcome to Stupid Little Games, the podcast where we talk about all things gaming from the inside out. Each week, I sit down with a guest from various parts of the gaming industry, and we chat about our current gaming obsessions. We tell stories from projects past or present, if we can talk about them, because you know how that goes. And then we're going to play a stupid little game that I've written especially for each guest. I am Jess. Thank you for coming back if you're a regular listener, and thank you for listening for the first time if you are brand new here. So my guest today, I'm really excited about because he is one of the unsung heroes of the gaming industry. Spoiler alert, he's a senior QA engineer, and all of the other game devs out there listening are all nodding their heads in agreement. It's like, yeah, QA is the unsung heroes of the game industry. He's worked before for EA, for Experis, worked with Microsoft. He's worked for Avalanche Studios. It's been over a decade doing amazing QA work. And these days, he's fixing shit over at Peloton. So lucky them. I'm excited for them. He's also one of the chillest and most knowledgeable people I've ever had the pleasure to work with. And he has the cutest baby in existence. So, and if you know me, you know how much I dislike children. So me saying that a baby is cute, then you can really believe me. So please welcome the amazing Andre Coleman.
Thank you for the introduction.
I told you I was going to say nice things about you, so you should be surprised, and you deserve all of it. How are you, Andre?
I'm pretty rough. Life has been good.
Good. I'm really glad. So I'm really happy to talk to you because not only is Q&A important and interesting, and I don't know nearly as much about it as I feel like I should know about it, but because you're also one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met about all kinds of things. I'm not talking about games. I'm just talking about all kinds of things. We used to have conversations about iPhones, about fixing the Steam Deck, about laptop deals, basically anything. And you would always have not just input in the conversation because of course you had that, but you had things that I wanted to go and write down. It's it's Andre just said this thing. I need to write it down so that I don't forget it. And from steaks, you told me where to get the best steaks coming out of Long Island because you also live here in New York. We've talked about headphones, we've talked about everything, and you always have some sort of tip or deal or something like that. So I just think you're a really interesting person. How do you get to know so much about so many things?
Constant research. I stay looking up for new things. And then once I do have a passion about something, I want to know as much as I can about it. So.
Well, it shows because, anytime I've ever had problems with things, and I didn't even ask you about it, you would just help out with anything and everything. You just know so much. And I aspire to be that sort of person to where people think, oh, I could just talk to Jess and she'll give me information that is useful. I do not think I am that way. I think folks out there that know me personally are yeah, good luck, Jess, because I am not like that. I know stupid trivia that will not help you with anything, but stuff that will actually make your life better, no. Not at all. But Audrey, I think you're very cool, and thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. So I want to talk about what are you playing right now?
It's a combination of things. Stalker 2, Grand Theft Auto 4.
Oh, cool. So what is Stalker all about?
So I just played 2 as my first game. Some coworkers were telling me it was coming out. I hadn't heard of it. I have Game Pass, so I saw it there. Decided to download it, and now it's been 2 months of playing it. But
that's good.
Yeah, it reminds me of Fallout 4.
Oh, cool.
But it's more cynical.
Nice.
Instead of the old aesthetics, it's more of a what they call anomaly. Someone created the zone, and there's anomalies in it, and you're just trying to survive.
That's cool. It must be pretty good if you've gotten 2 months of play out of it. Is it one of those things that you could sit down and play for 4 or 5 hours, or one of those things where it's okay, let me do a run and then come back to it later?
So it's open world game. Like I say, like Fallout 4. So there's a story to it. Giant open world, and it's after you get past like the prologue, it's just you explore. So
Nice.
you can play it for hours. You can come back to it. I normally just pause it and come back to it as I have time to.
And you also said Grand Theft Auto 4, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I picked up my Steam Deck because I haven't played it in a while, and I was trying to think of what to play. Then I saw some Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks and saw that they were fake, so it led me to wanting to play Grand Theft Auto, but I played 5 way too much.
yeah.
So I decided just to dust off 4.
Four
and
is
give it another whirl.
four is so good. So the music in Grand Theft Auto 4 is amazing. And I actually talked about this. I think I was with Matthew because I haven't played Grand Theft Auto in a million years, but one of my favorite streamers was playing it and playing 4 specifically. And he was making YouTube videos about it. And his name's Mini a True Nerd, and he gets a lot of numbers on his videos, but they were all taken down because of the music. So he started streaming it instead because there are different rules for when you're streaming copyrighted material than when you're just making YouTube videos about it. And it's just the perfect size of cutscenes. They're 30 to 45 seconds, tells you the next thing you need to do. It has amazing music behind it. That was such a good game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what brought most of the audience to Grand Theft Auto was just how they would make fun of any and everything.
Yeah, and themselves.
Everything was a joke. Yeah, from the missions to the weapons to even the cars and the names, everything was a joke. So 4 was kind of that in that good space of you have a few games under your belt, you know what the audience wants, and you did it in the biggest city in the country. So.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. What's the beer? Was Pisswasser? I just talked about that a little bit with Thomas Pisswasser, and one of my favorite things in games that are especially huge games where you have a bunch of devs that are really have attention to detail, and Rockstar has an amazing attention to detail. I also do this in like Red Dead Redemption series is actually reading all of the store names and all of the billboards, and actually makes you want to really be in the world because it's like our world, but just a little bit snarkier, just a little bit more on the nose, a little bit meaner. But it's always funny. So that's a good one to revisit, especially these days.
Yeah, like Rockstar, like especially I guess with Grand Theft Auto, it's the attention to detail.
Yeah.
Even starting from like Grand Theft Auto 3, where I think a lot of open world games still are trying to catch up.
Yeah.
It's like every store, every commercial, everything has a hidden meaning behind it. Like a lot of games, they'll put a lot of time into the story, into the dialogue, but most of the world is just cut and paste.
Yeah. And it was revolutionary. Was it Grand Theft Auto 3 that... I think it was 3 that they first did I could be wrong, that they first did all of the radio, the different radio stations, or was it Vice City where they had like just full radio stations with DJs. No matter what you're listening to, you're going to have a different type of DJ and a different type of music, and they're all talking about what happened in the world. That was so wonderful, and I wish more games would do it now. I can't imagine how much that cost.
Yeah, I believe it was 3. Because 3 was the first like open world AAA game from them. I believe like the first few games, 1, 2, and nothing. London was like a top down view, almost felt like a Game Boy game.
Yeah.
And then 3 was like, here's all of our money, open world, do what you want.
And it paid off. But they did set the bar very high for themselves, which is why I guess now Grand Theft Auto 6 is what, like $2 billion and 12 years, and we're all going to play it. Everyone's going to play it. People that have never picked up a video game before are going to play Grand Theft Auto 6. It's going to be great. Yeah. Question for you, being a QA engineer, and we'll get into the QA, all the QA of it in the interview portion, but when you're playing your games that you just like to sit and play, are you able to turn off the QA brain and just enjoy it? Or are you like...
I mean, I say no, I guess, but it isn't like a hindrance because it's more so the QA brain is trying to discover new things, seeing how things work. So like where I guess someone may just be trying to complete a game, I'm trying to see what else I can do that maybe wasn't intended.
Nice.
And like a lot of games now are geared that way. Like they build mechanics, like especially like the latest Zelda game. The latest few Zelda games, they give you mechanics and they tell you go try to do things that we couldn't have thought of. So it's like that's kind of leaning into what QA really is.
Yeah, I love to see, especially for Tears of the Kingdom, when you're building all of these contraptions and they're making like full automatons out of out of the contraptions. And I'm wondering if the devs kind of hoped that would happen, or was it not something I'm sure they thought about it. I mean, it's Nintendo, they think about everything, but because I know that I'm not an engineer and I'm definitely not a QA engineer, but when I'm playing games, it's hard to turn off that like insider game dev brain of like, how would I have done this? Or wow, that was really cool. Let me write that down so that could be something that's put into another game. But I can't imagine how hard it is for a Q&A engineer to be like, I'm gonna break this. Let's see how fast we can break it.
Yeah, I believe like the trend towards, I guess the building what you want in a game, like it's been around like Fallout 4 has it. I can't think of the name of the famous one.
Fortnite, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those, here are the tools, build what you want. So I think like with Tears of the Kingdom, it was a proven system.
Yeah.
But it was never done in Zelda. So it was like, once people got Zelda, they kind of already knew what they could do.
Yeah.
It was just doing it then.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, we'll get more into like QA theory in the interview part. Are you playing anything else right now?
I'm looking forward to a few games.
Oh yeah, what are you looking forward to?
I haven't been exploring too much. Kingdom Come Deliverance too.
Oh yeah, I think that the embargo, we're in the very, very beginning of February here. I think the embargo on the reviews just lifted like today, so we're starting to see all of the early reviews. Yeah, because that comes out in March.
I haven't played the first one, but like I have seen some videos and like the details to like realism, then how big the world is, how it moves without you. That's something I can't say I really see in too many open world games, where the situation will happen if you intervene, but if you leave it alone, it'll still happen and you'll just see the outcome.
That's got to be really hard to control, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to, I think it just came out and I haven't had a chance to play it yet, is Citizen Sleeper 2. Have you heard of the Citizen Sleeper games? The first one, it's really interesting because it's like you're an android who wakes up and you have to kind of keep yourself alive and enough to, and it's just very, I don't want to like spoil anything about it, but it's a really interesting gameplay, and you only have a certain amount of energy to do actions per day. And so you have to choose the things you're going to save, like the people you're going to save. You meet different people. You got to choose like how you're going to use your energy. And there's no way to do everything. Like they do it on purpose. Like there's no way for you to actually be able to do everything. So it's got a lot of replayability. But Citizen Sleeper 2, I think, came out this week. I'm still playing Infinity Nikki. Have you heard of Infinity Nikki?
I don't.
It's an open world, free to play, but it's very good. Free to play has such a stigma, but it's an open world platformer / gotcha game where you're in this world, and Nikki is a stylist, and stylists are kind of like the musician. I mean, not musicians, the magicians of this world, and you get all these outfits, and on its face it looks like a very girly, cute little like girly game, but when you kind of get into it, it's very good. It's really good. So I've talked about Infinity Nikki a bit. I also just started playing the Shadowrun Returns. that it came out in like 2012, 2013, I believe. And it's like a 3/4 down Shadowrun campaign, and I love Shadowrun, the TTRPG. I've loved that for a very, very long time. And so I think my partner actually backed this on Kickstarter. They were making a game out of it, and I did just start, so I can't really say how much I love it yet. I make one little complaint because I'm getting older and the font is so tiny. It is so small, and I'm playing it on the Switch, and there's no way to make the font bigger. And I tried to put it on my actual television to play it there, and maybe I could see it better, but it's still very tiny even on the television. So if there was a way I could make the font bigger, that would be great. But other than that, it seems really cool so far. It's very Shadowrun. I mean, it's the world, it's the lore, and so I'll probably finish that in a week or so and get back to everybody about how much I liked it. But it looks cool so far. It feels very Shadowrun. And so that's the best I could say about it right now. It's very, I literally just started it.
Yeah, I was scrolling Steam, I want to say like a few weeks ago, and I came across the game that I figured the first thing I think was Jess would love this game. The Ware Cleaner.
The Ware Cleaner?
Yeah, so it's pretty much you're a janitor when the office closes.
What does that say about me? It's so funny that Andre's like, Jess would love this game. But no, everyone that I know knows how much I love Power Wash Simulator. So I'm not at all surprised when anyone is like, there's this new cleaning game, Jess. You should play it. But it's called the Ware Cleaner. Oh my God, I'm going to look it up.
Like, you're a janitor that's also a werewolf.
Oh, hell yeah.
You clean at night, but then sometimes you have the urges to turn into a werewolf.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to, and like if you kill anybody, you have to clean up the mess while also still cleaning the office and then make it out before anyone notices.
Oh, hell yeah. That sounds so cool. I might have to stop Shadowrun and you said it's on Steam, so I'll look on the Steam Deck basically when I'm very excited about this now. It is. You're absolutely right. This is very up my alley. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Cool. Well, I think that's a good time to take a quick break for a quick ad break. Today's sponsor is Phantoms, Ghosts, and Other Heartbreaks by Beth Morton. It's a debut novel that is a contemporary spin on Phantom of the Opera. So taking place in New York City, Phantoms, Ghosts, and Other Heartbreaks transforms Christine from an opera ingenue to an MBA student and takes Eric from an underground phantom to a mysterious benefactor living in a high-rise above the city. So when these two are unexpectedly brought together during a blackout, the result will change both of their lives as a spark sets them on a new path. And I've said this before, I'm not a big romance reader, but this book was really good, especially if you like any sort of Phantom of the Opera or even just musical lore. It's very good. It's very sexy. It's very spicy where you want it to be spicy, and it's really charming everywhere else. So you can look for Phantoms, Ghosts, and Other Heartbreaks by Beth Morton right now on Amazon. You can get it on Amazon for the actual paperback or on Kindle Unlimited if you prefer ebooks. And so thank you to Phantoms, Ghosts, and Other Heartbreaks for sponsoring this episode. This episode is also brought to you by Brooklyn indie rock band Social Robot. Their sophomore album Outreach Programs brings tape deck 80s synthwave vibes as vocalist Bayard Russell sweetly skewers the attention economy and data overload, or so says Nagamag magazine. I love the term attention economy and data overload. And by the way, if you heard the theme music for this podcast, which I'm guessing you did if you're listening, then you've already heard them. So go to socialrobotmusic.com or search for Social Robot on Apple, Spotify, Napster, LimeWire, or wherever you pirate your favorite music. Now let's get back to the show. And welcome back. Andre, something I ask all of my guests, how on earth did you get into gaming?
So I was a student at Southern University, taking computer science, and was just looking for a job to start. I was thinking that I had to either work for an airplane company or something like a computer, I guess a hospital or any company that used computers and saved data. Because my major was information technology, So like a lot of that was around building databases and storing data. And I came across EA as being a company that was moving to Louisiana at the time.
Right.
I put in my resume. I ended up finding a job as a valet. I got a call back from EA, and the guy answered the phone, asked what I had heard. I was like, I play Madden, all of the games all the time.
That is so funny. It's
And
like, have you ever heard of Electronic Arts, this company that makes video games?
When I guess the thing is, at the time I wasn't thinking, and he asked me, what do I think they do there? Do I have any knowledge about the job? And I was like, you all play games all day.
Oh, no.
And just hung up the phone.
No, you're right. That's all we do. No, I'm kidding. That is so funny.
So I ended up getting a call like 2 weeks later from a different person. I conducted that one like a professional, so I ended up getting the job.
I'm so glad that they called you back. That's awesome. So how was EA?
It was good for introduction. I liked it because I did like the games. I actually played them. But it was a testing studio. So it was only testers worked there. So like I said, it was a good introduction. I got to get a lot of knowledge about QA and how testing is from multiple teams. While working in the office with multiple teams, I got to see the process. I got to occasionally speak to devs. But like I said, because it was a QA team, because it was my first job, I was more so just a pure tester at the time. But yeah, I liked my time at EA.
And then after that, you moved to, was it Experis?
Yeah, Experis. While I was at EA, I got moved up to one of the lead testers, and then eventually I was creating a lot of the collateral, working with the devs much more, working with the artists and designers. And so by word of mouth, some people at Experis reached out to me, did an impromptu interview. Then they wanted to do a second one. I ended up getting a job and moving from New Orleans to Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, that's a different world. Moving to Phoenix from New Orleans. Was it hard to leave New Orleans? Because I mean, New Orleans is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I expected things to be different.
Yeah.
But I was more excited about the opportunity.
Yeah.
Because once, like, on the call, they told me I would be working directly with Microsoft. So it's like me being in computer science, working with one of the, the giants of the industry, and then getting a call to come work with a different giant. I was more excited that I hadn't put too much thought into exactly what would be different.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably good that you didn't put too much thought into it because you're just like, we're doing this. We're going. Come on, Arizona.
Yeah. And then I did also like the location because I was about 3.5 hours from Vegas.
Nice.
4.5 hours from Los Angeles. So I got to explore more of the country. It wasn't like I was just in the middle of the desert with nothing to do, like Vegas.
Yeah.
To me, is on par with New Orleans.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Like, it's hot in Phoenix. Like, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot in New Orleans too. And I'm from South Carolina, so I'm also from the South. So I know about the humidity. I know about the mosquitoes. I know about like how hot it gets in like July and August. But Phoenix is a different level of hot.
Yeah, I know. So I would argue that because when I went to work at Experis, I had about 5 or 6 coworkers that had also gotten calls and had gotten hired up there. It's hot in Louisiana, but like it may tip out at like 98 degrees. Average is probably 80 to 85. In Phoenix, you get from 100 to 110.
Oof.
During like those crucial months. I think it's like March through June.
Jesus.
But it's no humidity.
Right.
And to me, humidity is worse because it's a difference when you walk outside and you're drenched in sweat.
Yeah.
And you can go outside, and as long as you don't stay out in the sun too much, it's not that bad of a time. Yeah, in the South, like you're sweating no matter what you do.
How do
You
you?
can just walk down the street and you're sweating.
Because in Phoenix, I'm guessing you needed a car to really get around.
Yeah.
How do you get in a car after it's been sitting in the 110-degree heat for a matter of hours? Even if you go out in the morning, it's still been sitting in just the direct sunlight for 3 or 4 hours. Like, how long does it take you before you can touch the steering wheel and actually like shut the door?
I mean, so like Phoenix had like some fixes for things like this. So like a lot of people have carports.
Oh yeah.
So it's not sitting in direct sun. At the time I had a Cadillac, I believe. So like I was able to start the engines and roll down the window while still sitting inside.
Nice.
So by the time I got outside, the car was already cool.
Okay, I mean that makes sense. So there were carports in South Carolina too. Like if you don't know what a carport is out there, it's so a garage is completely enclosed and usually like part of the house. A carport is basically just a roof for your car, and you just kind of park underneath it so that there's shade, but it's not actually attached to the house usually, and it usually doesn't have anything on the sides to it. It's just kind of an open air garage kind of. I didn't realize that people didn't know what carports were, because that's what we called them in South Carolina too, until I think I said something here in New York and somebody was like, what the fuck is a carport? Like an airport, but for cars. That's called a bus stop, Jess. And I'm like, no. Like, no, it's a different thing. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. But I didn't even think about like the carports. So you went to Phoenix, and you were there for a few years, right? And then working with Microsoft, and then you got stolen for Avalanche, right? And got to come to New York City.
Yeah. While I was working with Experis, I got to work on like Gears 5. Halo Infinite.
Nice.
And then we had what we call tinted projects, where you couldn't say the name.
Yeah.
You couldn't speak about it. Even like it would be presented at EA, you only could use the name that was used at EA, but still can say nothing else. One of the studios, my last project there, the studio that actually built the game was Avalanche Studios. And so I think I worked on that game for about 1.5 years while working at Experis. And I wanted to move to New York because I actually did get tired of the sun in Phoenix.
Yeah, I would too.
But also, I like to do a thing where every few years I like to move. Mm-hmm. Not as far as like moving locations, but I like to try to travel a little bit. So I did want to travel more to the East Coast, and I saw that Avalanche had 2 openings. So I applied. I didn't really expect to get the call back because it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies where you have to live in the city now. Mm-hmm. I did get the call and moved in, started working at Avalanche Studios.
Yeah. And so QA is such a misunderstood discipline, I think, because people, especially folks that play video games, they're always like, oh, QA didn't blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you don't know what QA does. Shut up. And also, just for the record, like, QA is game dev. Like, every few months, I see this fucking debate online, and you won't find anyone inside the industry that's saying QA is not game dev. It's all people outside of the industry that are saying QA is not game dev. Like, QA is 100% game dev. I mean, Jesus Christ. So can you tell me like what QA entails? Because there's so much confusion out there.
I guess in a broad sense, QA entails being responsible for the quality delivered for the game. We are sort of the ones who should know everything about the game in and out, whereas other sectors, like, they focus on a certain thing. Like the design team focuses on the design, the writers, the writing. The QA has to know everything about
everything.
Like anything that goes into the game, we're responsible for it, which means we have to be able to dissect the game, and we have to be able to write up any article about any feature, verify that the feature is there, verify that the game can actually be released. Because there's a lot of times where we have to send things to the lawyers or send things to the studio. We have to verify that the work is done so that the studio can get paid.
Right. You are kind of the last line before things can be like signed off on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No pressure. No pressure at all. I'm sure QA doesn't get it from all sides, including finance, including legal. I've been like, why isn't this fixed? We need money.
Yeah. I mean, even earlier, like how we were saying, like Grand Theft Auto 4 lost some of its licenses on the songs.
Yeah.
QA has to be able to tell them if the songs are in the game, how long the license extends for to make sure they're out of the game at a certain time, or the studio can get sued. We have to make sure that the song version that was actually purchased or rented is the one that's in the game, or the studio can get sued. So it's a lot of just making sure all of the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, and just making sure what we say is there is there.
I've never even thought about that. Somebody has to check all that shit. Somebody has to check it. Cool. So one of the things that I really liked about you, one of the many things I liked about you, is because the build could have broken. Something is on fire. Things are going crazy because it always happens when you're making a video game, and you would be the most like calm, level-headed. But everyone else could be freaking out, but Andre is just like, it's cool. Here's some things we need to do. And you start making a list of X, Y, and Z. And I would be afraid if I would see you getting any sort of like frantic, because I'm like, oh, shit is definitely now. Now shit is crazy because I see Andre's eyebrows raise. But you were always really good at staying cool and like level-headed. How important do you think that is for somebody who is doing something that's like high pressure like QA?
I think it's very important to be able to organize it within what you can do and what you should do. Like I like to think of like building a game as just being like organized chaos.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Like, because it's in concept, it's a bunch of different artists from different perspectives and different angles trying to complete one project. So things are going to clash, collide, things are going to break. And like after you've been in the industry for, a certain period of time, you get used to today the build may break, or this feature went in is completely broken. Someone may have merged something when they shouldn't have. And it's, like the more you see it, the more you recognize what to do.
What branch is this? What branch is this on? What branch is this? Yeah. Gotcha. You're very, very good at that. But you have been doing it for a very long time. You've been doing it for more than 10 years now. So you don't stay in QA without liking it a little bit and being able to navigate the chaos that everyone else throws at you. I do think you're like really, really good at that. What are some of the like maybe misconceptions about QA? Because there are a lot of misconceptions. Like people put everything under QA, and it's like that's not what QA does. What are some of the misconceptions that you've seen in your career?
I mean, the biggest one, of course, is they play games all day.
They don't play games all day. It's just 90% of the time. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, and then that's also, I guess a different one is people think QA is just one position. A lot of people I know, they think QA and game tester is the same, where like a game tester is a part of the QA. So like there are sections of QA where you never touch the game.
Oh.
Like when I was at EA, I worked with a guy. He got promoted because he worked in data, and he had like a math major, and his entire job was just tracking the database, making sure that the data is solid, working in security around it. And he used to tell me, like, I wish I could play the game. Like, I wish I would have just, turned down promotion and stayed a QA tester. But there are positions in QA where you never see the game. But a lot of people just think if you're a QA, you just play the game and tell them what's wrong.
I mean, it is a part of it. I know that we would like play the build basically every day, but it wasn't for 8 hours. It was like, here we're going to play through these things, and look out for X, Y, and Z that was just added to the build and stuff like that. But the other 7 hours of the day, I would see you basically meetings and spreadsheets and code. And what are some of the like departments that kind of fall under QA, like you were saying?
So at the basic level, you have a tester. They're the people who kind of are ensuring that smoke tests are done, which smoke test is checking the basic things of the build that are working. They're the ones when major features are delivered. You kind of go through and actually test those things, making sure that they're working in game. You have database manager. Normally, that's the person who they round up all of the bugs. They keep them organized. They send them to the departments and teams that need them. They talk to the producers to make sure things are getting prioritized when they need to. You also have the person who positions that create collateral, which are the test cases, which are the Confluence docs. When features
so much documentation in Q&A. So much documentation.
Yeah. And then sometimes studios or teams have this game of telephone where a designer designs this feature how they want it, but when the engineer puts it in game, things are different. So once it gets merged and this comes to QA, we kind of have to rewrite those design docs and say what really is, what the intention was, but how that feature actually works. So you have to decide if there are bugs, what should be changed, what is broken to a state that we know it doesn't work, but the way it's broken actually is fun. So then you have to go in and talk with the producers and with the people who kind of make the shots if design changes, and kind of sell your case on keeping this feature, which I believe that was something that happened at Avalanche with the hook shot.
With Just Cause? Yeah.
Like that was a bug that people end up liking and it end up making it to the game.
I bet there's so many of those things, because I mean that's what you want to be in the game, right? Fun. Above everything else, like, is this fun? And I think there's some that I would love to talk about that we can't talk about. Damn. I'm not going to mention it because it's something that neither one of us could talk about that is a perfect example of this. But I'm sure that there are so many examples of this was a thing that nobody meant to happen, but this is very cool. So how do we actually make this a feature instead of a bug, and keep it in? And now it's a major part of the game. You're welcome.
I mean, I see that a lot with designs. Like a lot of games, when they're going into alpha, and designs are being created, they kind of throw everything in, like everything plus the kitchen sink is in the game. And as it's being made, they kind of find out what they're limited to, whether it's tools or money or time, and things get cut. So when you're QA and you have a direct line with the producers, you can kind of tell them, hey, this thing is getting cut, but this thing is probably one of the most fun things in game right now. And it's like sometimes you have to kind of help tailor what gets cut, what gets to stay, what is broken and just needs to go away for now, even if it plans to come back, because this thing in its state may be blocking me from being able to verify the things.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do have to sell your case and try to get design change because something is so fun or it works in a way that wasn't expected or designed.
That's cool. And that's actually something I've never really thought about, because I mean, yeah, like QA can be a very creative role if you are really good at picking out the things that are like, this is great. How do I make a story around this thing so that we keep it in the game?
Yeah.
That's awesome. What do you have any sort of advice maybe for folks that are trying to come into QA these days. I mean, it's 2025. The game industry is what it is. A lot of people like coming into QA because it's kind of a gateway drug into the industry for depending on which position you're going for. So what sort of advice do you have for those folks?
Advice.
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
would say first off, you don't have to love gaming, but loving games helps.
Yeah.
Because if you're at least if you're coming into the gaming side of QA, you spend a lot of time talking about them, comparing to others, which means you have to play a lot of different games on your own time just to make sure you're keeping up with trends. QA in general, I would say study things around automation, making sure you're technically savvy in database management, learn some code. Because with QA, you may not spend the majority of your portion in those fields, but you would need to know some because it can make your job easier. I would say there are ways to come in as entry level, a lot more ways to come in entry level as QA. Like you were saying, like it's hard to just get a position as an artist when you haven't, worked professionally as an artist or come in as an engineer when you haven't actually built things in the past. With QA, it is a doorway to where you get to talk to those people directly, get to spend time, see their day to day. A lot of them are nice and generous, and they'll offer to teach you or help you or let you shadow them. So you can get unpaid internships or gain knowledge just by being in the QA role because you have to be able to talk to anyone. Communication skills are another key.
Yeah.
There's a lot of communication, a lot of meetings. And also, I would say be open to new ideas because with gaming, there are a lot of ideas, there are a lot of change, and sometimes it's led by the audience. So like you may be making a game you absolutely love and design changes. And like it may turn into something you don't like as much, but if you're open to that change, you may find yourself liking the change.
That's really good advice. So you mentioned playing a lot of games because in QA you need to be able to compare and stay up on trends and things like that. So how did you incorporate that into like your workflow? Like, would you like, I'm sure that like when you get home, you're like playing the different ones, but what if it's like, okay, there's this new game, but I really just want to go back to play some more Grand Theft Auto. Do you just like make yourself say like, oh man, okay, this game came out and it's a little bit like the game that we're making. So let me just go ahead and play this.
I guess not necessarily because I guess me for one, I've never been able to finish most games. Like I finished every Grand Theft Auto, but other games I stopped like 80-90% of the way through. But like even if you don't want to play a game, just watching a YouTube video of the explanation or the review of that game can help you. And then also if you're working on a game earlier enough, so like in alpha when they're still building the features, just familiarizing yourself with other games that have similar features helps you. Because another unknown part of QA is trying to discover if something is fun, if someone else does it better, why, if the control feels natural. So like I think a big part of, for example, Call of Duty's success is the controls. When I try to play other shooters, they don't feel as good as when I'm playing Call of Duty.
So you can't turn off that QA brain. You can't turn off the QA brain. It's okay. I can't turn off the game dev brain either. You mentioned watching YouTube videos, and I'm a huge advocate of watching other like Let's Plays and things like that because there are only enough hours in a day. Like I love experiencing video games. It's my favorite thing. It's why I work in game dev. It's why a lot of us work in game dev. When I'm not playing a game, I will usually be watching someone else play a video game on YouTube. And I feel like this might be controversial. I'm going to say something controversial. Yeah, brave. I feel like even if you're watching someone else play it, on YouTube or Twitch or something like that, you're still experiencing the game. And there's so many games that I have bought because I have watched someone play like the first hour of it, or even the first 5 minutes. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to watch any more of this because I want to experience this myself. So I did that with a couple of things. I did that with Thank Goodness You're Here, which is the funniest game I've ever played in my entire life. And it's a very short game. It's like 3 or 4 hours. It's wonderful. If you have not played Thank Goodness You're Here, I watched somebody play it and I was like, I need to experience this myself. And there's plenty of those things like that. I think it was, someone was telling me though, like, yeah, if you experience it that way though, you're not buying and paying for the game. And I'm like, I would say that I've bought more games because I've seen other people play them than me not buying the game, even though I would have. So there's a lot of games that I can't play. Like I can't play first-person shooters. They give me headaches. I just can't do it. The way like I get migraines really easily, and the way first-person shooters, like you're moving through the world, it's the camera controls and everything. I just cannot do it. There are so many amazing first-person shooter games out there that I still want to experience. Like I love watching Wolfenstein playthroughs and watching people kill Nazis over and over and over again. That's awesome. I'm never going to be able to experience that, but now I can watch somebody else play it. So I'm a huge proponent of just, if you can't play the game, if you don't have time to play, I mean, we have lives, we have children, we have cute ass babies, like Andre does, that we don't have time to just play everything, but you could still experience it. So I'll get off of my soapbox now. I'm like, watch people play videos. I've bought so many videos because I didn't know this existed, and wow, this looks great.
Yeah, I mean, like games are the medium where you can experience multiple different ways, because it's the combination of film and art and music, to where like you can just listen to the soundtrack of a video game, or there's like a lot of games now, especially like if they're AAA, they'll come out with photo books.
Yeah,
where it's just showing the art in the game.
Yeah.
So like watching it is a way to experience it. If you just need to play the game, it's still there, even after you've watched it. So
absolutely,
it's not as though it's taken away from what you can experience with the game.
Yeah, 100%. I can't tell you how many times I have watched someone play Baldur's Gate 3, like a separate playthrough, and I played the entire thing myself. I've put like 300 plus hours into that game, but I will still watch somebody else play Baldur's Gate 3 because it's going to be such a different experience than what I did. And there's so many ways to play this game. So Baldur's Gate 3, I was playing it and I played a ranger, an elf ranger, because I'm basic. My partner was playing like a tiefling barbarian, and our playthroughs could not have been different because since he was playing a barbarian, every single thing, he just like crashed through everything. It was just like, he called it the barbarian lockpick. You just crash it. And I was very stealthy. And so we had very different experiences, but it was the same game. And that's what I love about gaming. I mean, people know, people that are listening to this are fans of games. So we're preaching to the choir, but watch YouTube videos, do it. It's great. Don't feel bad about not being able to play the game if you can still experience it because somebody's playing it. There are only enough hours in the day. What is your favorite part of QA? Because you've done basically all of it at this point.
My favorite part is being an alpha, really. Yeah, alpha. Because that's where you're seeing the game come to life. Mm-hmm. Because like you can have Confluence and read over designs as much as you want. You can see what they're going for, but being able to see the features as they come online, being able to give feedback and being in those meetings where people are coming up with their ideas for what goes into a game. I know it feels different once that game is released and you're like, I was there, to help create that stuff.
I was there 84 years ago when this was a bug instead of a feature. Yeah, I can see how that could be a really good part of it. And if you must have liked something about it to keep you in QA for so long, because I feel like you could do, with your knowledge and you being who you are, I feel like you could do like any part of game dev that you would want to. But I feel like QA is just so important. And I love that there's people there like you saying, like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to fix this shit so that y'all can play the game. You're welcome. You're welcome, Games Industry. Cool. Okay, well, I think that might be a perfect place to stop and get to our stupid little game. Are you ready to play stupid little game?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I'm ready.
Don't worry. It is where's your game? Here it is. So we talked about a bit before that you are from New Orleans. You born and raised in New Orleans, and before I even get to the New Orleans part, so I was trying to think. I was like, okay, I have a QA engineer. What am I going to do for a stupid little game? And since I've known you, I was thinking I was going to try to make a game called like Andre Fix My Life. Because I was like, here are all these things that I am doing wrong. Andre, how do I fix it? But then I was like, but then I would need to pay him because that's therapy. So your game, since you were born and raised in New Orleans, and I know that you still have family there, and I'm sure that you experienced Mardi Gras of all your life, I've come up with a game called Smarty Gras. It's a game of Mardi Gras trivia. So how many times have you been to Mardi Gras?
Yeah, I would be able to count.
Yeah. Like, how old are you? No, you don't have to tell me that. But yeah, so good, because this is like Mardi Gras trivia, and I learned so much. I've been to Mardi Gras twice, and I have friends that live in New Orleans, and we would go down to, like, she went to school here, and we'd go down to like visit her family that lived in Louisiana. And Mardi Gras was so much fun, but it was also just a lot. It was so much. And there was one Mardi Gras that I don't remember jack shit about it because I had too much of a good time, because we were literally like drinking the entire time. We were there for an entire weekend. But what I didn't know is that so Mardi Gras is just about a week, but carnival season starts weeks before that, right?
No, so Mardi Gras season is essentially the same as carnival season. So like this year, Mardi Gras season, I think it started already in January, but it doesn't end until March.
Gotcha. Okay. So I thought Mardi Gras was just like the week of Mardi Gras between, what is it, right before Fat Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah. Me acting like I know about Mardi Gras. I don't know shit.
I mean, that's what the name entails. The name is one day, which is the Fat Tuesday. But you're supposed to party as much as you can until that one day. Because
then Lent starts, right? You're not going to be doing any of that. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
After Lent, you're not supposed to be able to do a certain amount of things until Easter. So it's like, get it out of your system now. Lent starts. Now you're going through Lent until Easter.
So if you live in New Orleans, then do you actually like party starting in January?
It depends. So the season is different every year. I know, like, let's see, if I go to the Mardi Gras website.
I think this year it started like January 6th. Yeah. Oh no, not January 6th.
And it doesn't end until, looks like, March 4th this year.
Goodness. So basically 2 whole months of partying.
Yeah. But you don't have to do like so it's like there are parades, or and the parades are thrown by crews, but there's a route or a schedule. You don't have to go to every parade, because sometimes you may have 2 or 3 happening at one time. So it's like, when I would go to Mardi Gras, it would be, I'm going to go this weekend, Friday through Sunday. And then as you get closer, I'm going to spend, 4 or 5 days trying to go through things. Or I may have just taken an entire week off. But it's more so about, it's Mardi Gras season. This is the thing to do right now. If you want to go out and party, expect people to be everywhere drunk, wearing beads that are purple, gold, and green.
Yeah. Well, you're actually answering some of the questions, so you're winning the game already. So, like, my first question was, the Mardi Gras parades are run by groups called blank. but you already said it. Like they're run by crews. So maybe I should ask you a tougher question. Like, what was the first crew?
Uh,
Because I think I kind of have the answer to that.
I don't know the first crew. I would think Bacchus. I feel like they're one of the bigger crews.
I was reading about the crew of Rex.
Okay, yeah, Rex.
That was one of the first ones that's still around. And some crews are really easy to kind of get into, but then other ones are you have to like apply, and there's like a years long wait list for. I guess that's probably what the older crews.
I guess it depends on that crew's tradition. Some crews have been around so long that they're kind of strict about who gets in, because like once you're a member, you get to vote on what we're going to do this year, the events. You take part of fundraising. So some crews just want to make sure you're going to be involved.
Gotcha.
While other crews are, it's about getting numbers, and the more people, the better. So each thing, is decided by that particular.
See, I always joke that this is an educational podcast. This is an educational podcast. We're all learning things. But each crew has like a different throw, right? A throw being like the stuff that they throw from the floats.
Yeah, so like if you are part of a crew and you're doing the parade, like it's your parade. You design the floats, you design what gets thrown, you design how long, what route it takes. So that's all up to you and your crew.
That's cool. That's and I bet with some of the bigger crews, like that's a lot of pressure. It's like, okay, because there are different themes for them, right? And I saw that there was some crews that, I mean, a lot of crews will throw out beads. Some throw out like doubloons, which are the like coins that are made specifically for Mardi Gras. But other crews, there's this one that will throw out like beaded sunglasses. Like they make these like beautiful sunglasses, and there are some crews that like people like will line up to try to get these throws specifically, because once you get these like sunglasses that these folks made, or get like these specific beads that were handmade by this crew, like it's kind of a status symbol of like, I got these, and the sunglasses are beautiful. I was like, those are handmade. Like somebody put all of these beads and put like les bon temps roulés on these like beautiful sunglasses. And I mean, that's cool. I like seeing it as kind of like almost like a sport. It's like, which crews could I get the good throws from? That's really cool.
The different throws, they kind of serve as a, like as a memento to I went to the parade this year.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorites was always the Zulu.
What was their throw?
Well, they used to throw coconuts. Now they hand them out. But like each coconut is hand painted.
Oh wow! And they would throw them. Oh no! Did too many people get bonked in the head? Oh man, that's great though. I would love to like throw a coconut at some tourist head. That would be cathartic to me, I believe. That would be amazing.
And then also some crews have balls before the parade, where like normally members of the crew and then invited guests can come, and there's a ball. You have entertainment, food, and it's like a real, dress up occasion.
Oh, that's really cool. Oh, I love the tradition and the spectacle of it all. It reminds me of like Carnival. It reminds me of like the samba schools and Carnival, because are there crew competitions? Because like there are samba school competitions in Brazil that I have learned out, because my best friend is Brazilian, and so he was just telling me about all of the stuff that happens during Carnival, and I was just like, wow, this is like, and it's 5:00 in the morning when they're doing these samba school like competitions. It's wild.
I mean, I don't think there's competitions, but like each crew is trying to put on the best parade. So, and like each one wants it to be memorable. So like you can say, this crew's parade to me was the best versus another. But I don't think there's like direct competition like a dance off.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's probably better that they don't, because now it's like for the pure art of like wanting to be the best parade instead of being like, I want to win. When you put competition into it, I don't know. I think it kind of loses a little bit of something. Okay. So the next question. So In 1703, the first Mardi Gras took place in what southern city? And it's not New Orleans.
I think Lafayette.
Close-ish. It's in a different state.
Oh, different state.
Yeah. And this...
It's a different state. I would think Florida or Mississippi.
It's actually Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
They have, I was very surprised by this, actually. So they have like a huge celebration still in Mobile for Mardi Gras, but instead of calling them crews, they call them mystic societies. So I don't know. I kind of like crew a little bit better. But yeah, apparently there's like a place called Mardi Gras in like Mobile. But it moved to New Orleans, and now of course New Orleans has the big one. True or false? So it's illegal to not wear a mask or face paint on a float during Mardi Gras.
False.
It's true.
Is it true now?
Apparently,
I've seen so many people without.
According to Wikipedia, which is always right? But according to Wikipedia, you must either wear a mask or face paint to be on. There's like it's a quote unquote city ordinance, and you could be fined if you don't. But I don't know how much. I mean, I'm not from there. You're from there. I don't know how much they enforce that.
I know it's encouraged, but because sometimes you're not part of the parade, like you're just assisting the crew. But I know it's encouraged for everyone, to have a mask or face paint. But I don't like if it is a law. I would never see it enforced.
Apparently, it comes from wanting people from different classes to talk to each other. Back in the day, so that you wouldn't know who you were talking to because they were wearing a mask, and so it would foster more community. So you wouldn't just be talking to folks from your same or above social class. I don't know. Yeah. Again, just tried to.
So I know that's one of the reasons for the masquerade ball. But yeah, that was I've never heard of that law.
Well, see, this is why I wanted to ask you, because these are things that me as an outsider, living from South Carolina, living in Brooklyn, I don't know shit about actual Mardi Gras. I'm just reading what I read on the internet, but we can get the real skinny from someone that's actually from New Orleans. The next one, you actually already said it. What are the official Mardi Gras colors and what do they mean?
I can tell you the meaning, but yeah, gold, green, and purple.
So apparently green is for faith, gold is for power, and purple is for justice. So the Crew of Rex introduced the colors in 1872. And I think it was 20 years later that they said what the actual meaning was. But yeah, green, gold, and purple. You said that earlier though, so I was he already knows that one. We kind of were just talking about this. So while Mardi Gras in New Orleans is the largest carnival celebration in the U.S., it's not the largest in the world. So what is the largest carnival in the world?
Would that be Brazil?
Yes. So it's the one in Rio. Seeing stuff from Rio it's wild, and it looks like so much fun, but also so exhausting because everyone watching these samba school competitions, you are basically your school is, you have this slot in the competition that you are parading, and you parade around this specific area. And any Brazilians out there, I'm very sorry if I get this wrong, but you have to keep moving for a full 90 minutes. While you are doing the full circuit for your school, and I get tired just watching them. And even when you're on the floats and you're not doing the dances down, and you're not part of the bands and everything, it's oof. But the queen of the school, she's moving the entire time. And when I say she is moving, she is moving. The dancing is great. So if you ever want to feel like you are a piece of shit and will never be able to move again, just watch these samba schools, because I'm tired just looking at it. But they're amazing. They're very cool. This there's not I don't have an actual answer for this, but what actually happens with the king cakes when you find the baby?
So the person who finds the baby is responsible for buying the next one.
Oh, okay. So that's just kind of where it ends.
Yeah, so like the king cake where the baby is supposed to be hidden in the king cake. And then everyone gets a slice. Whoever finds it has to buy the next one.
Oh, okay. So are you on the hook for like a bunch of king cakes the next year or just one?
Just one.
Okay.
I mean, I guess it depends on your group. But it's one of those things. Like I said, like Mardi Gras lasts a long time. So like that cake, like you may be at the Super Bowl, for example, and someone bought the king cake for the Super Bowl party. Whoever finds the baby now, they buy the king cake at the next event.
Gotcha. So it's like cascading king cakes. I like that. I like the community aspect of all of it. That's wonderful. Okay, cool. Because I was reading something about like if you get the baby, then you're like king or queen for the day, and people have to do what you want. And I was like, I've never heard of that. I've heard of finding the baby, but I've never heard of it being like people have to like think that you're the king or queen for the day. And so true or false, so via like the city of New Orleans ordinance, so no corporate sponsorships are allowed on the floats.
I believe that's false. That has to be false, isn't it?
Well, according to NewOrleans.com, you aren't supposed to have any sort of corporate sponsors because everything is paid by the crews or the riders. But again, I'm not from there, so I would trust you a lot more than I would trust the internet.
I guess it depends on what counts as a sponsorship because while the float itself may not be a direct sponsor, like people used to have like sponsorship flags, and so like you may have 10 school bands, and that band has a flag announcing this is the band for this school.
Gotcha.
And you may see like a Coca-Cola tag on the flag. Like I've seen sponsors.
So it's a nice way to kind of get around it. So that so it's like, no, we're not sponsored. It's the school. The school is sponsored, but the crew is not sponsored. The float is not sponsored. No, I love that. I'm a big fan of like loopholes. It's like, yeah, get around it. Give me that money. Give me that money, Coca-Cola. Take Coca-Cola's money, please.
And I guess it's one of those things too. Like you said, the crew is responsible for paying for everything. So the crew itself may have paid or signed up for a sponsorship.
I mean, they'd be smart to do that because I can't imagine. Like, I don't know how much that would cost. And I'm a person that loves logistics. So whenever I see something like that, I'm like, okay, how long did it take to make this float? How was it designed? How was it built to go around this car or truck that's going to be either pulling it or sometimes it's over on top of like the skeleton of a truck? And what sort of safety measures have to be in place because this has people on it? And I know that like I know that there has to be things that they have to do. I don't know. I think it's fascinating, and I'm sure that shit is expensive. But it costs to be in a crew, right? Like you have dues that you need to pay to be in the crew.
Yeah, like I said, you have dues, fundraising. Sometimes you get donations, but a lot of times, like crews or certain groups where it's like people are happy to donate.
Yeah.
In anticipation of what the parade is going to be this year.
Yeah, that's good. Because, I mean, you're going to be, if you're going to be going and you're going to be experiencing the parade and you like what they're doing, then, like, yeah, give them some money. You don't have to pay to go to the parade, right? So why wouldn't you want to, like, donate a bit?
Sort of.
Do you pay to go to the parade?
Not to go to the parade, but there are like popular sections where they may have like mobile stands, like a basketball stand.
Gotcha.
So like sometimes you pay for convenience. So if you want to be in a certain section or in a certain area, there are some parades that ends in. We have a convention center, which is normally for like huge conventions. But there are some parades that like end at that convention center, or they may end at the Superdome. and people will pay to go inside the Superdome convention and kind of get the end of the parade where they gotta empty out whatever they weren't able to throw during the parade.
Nice. Okay. No, that's cool. I mean, that makes sense to me. If you want to be close, give me that money. Good for them. Good for them. So this one, I read this on a bunch of websites, and I was skeptical because I never experienced this in the 2 Mardi Gras that I went to. But again, it was just 2 Mardi Gras. There was apparently a quote unquote magic phrase to get something thrown at you from one of the floats. Do you know what the phrase is supposed to be?
Yeah, it's throw me something, mister.
Yeah, is it real?
There's a French. Say that again?
Is that a real thing that people actually, if you say that to somebody, that's when they're like, oh, I'm going to throw to you instead of this other knucklehead that didn't say anything?
So like parades are like, think of like a basketball game where like they're going around with the shirt shooter thing.
Yeah.
And it's like the people who are asking are the ones you're going to throw it to.
Nice. Okay.
So like if someone's raising their hand yelling, throw me something, mister, that's normally who they throw it to.
Oh, that makes sense. That's nice then. Okay, cool. That was one of the ones that I was just like, this doesn't sound, but I'm glad that it's true. That's cool. Well, congratulations. You have won the game. Congratulations. There's no way that you wouldn't win a game about Mardi Gras because you're the one that has been to the game. Even if the internet says like a completely different thing, I'm going to believe you over them any day, any day. But thank you so much for teaching me so much about Mardi Gras. And for folks that are listening here, this will probably be out probably a couple of weeks before Mardi Gras, if Mardi Gras is on March 4th. So if you're going, be safe, have a great time. Pace yourself so that in 20 years when you're talking about Mardi Gras on a podcast, you can remember what you did, because I don't remember the big Mardi Gras that I went to. But it is a good time, and it's beautiful, and it's wonderful. And March in Louisiana isn't quite so hot yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right now it's like perfect weather.
Oh, yeah.
Like 70 degrees.
Yeah, I talked to my sister. Hey, Charlotte. She's in South Carolina, and she's like, yeah, it's like 72 degrees here, and I'm looking out the window where it's like gloomy and 18 degrees in New York, and I'm just like, well, good for you. Go outside, have yourself a nice little walk. But yeah, so if you're going to Mardi Gras, have a great time. Do you go back often? Because I know you go visit your family a good bit. Like, do you go back for Mardi Gras?
I try to. So I've been in New York now, I think like three years now. Mm-hmm. I've gone back. Well, the first 2 years I went back a lot. Last year, because of the Avalanche, I kind of had other things to do. Yeah. But I do plan to go back like once or twice this year. I'm actually trying to see if I can go back at the end of this month.
Nice. Yeah, get a little bit of carnival season in there.
Yeah. Right now, it's about to be crawfish season.
Oh, crawfish!
Which is immediately followed by like crab season. So, like my brother told me they're throwing a barbecue last weekend. So I'm like,
oh man,
it's time to go down there.
Yeah, that's another thing that we used to always talk about is food, because you would talk about just the best. I want the food. One of the greatest things, hands down, like. There's so many great things about New Orleans. The music, everything is wonderful. It's a great place to go. But the food is my main reason for going. Like the first time I ever went to New Orleans, it was my first etouffee, and I had a crawfish etouffee, and it was a religious experience. Like, and it was from a like small little like hole in the wall sort of restaurant that my friend that lived there was one of her favorites. And so we just went to this little restaurant, and I just sat there like, this is so good. Tears coming down my face. I like food. I like flavor. If you like flavor, go to New Orleans and eat all the food. Because we used to talk a lot, because you cook a good bit. And unfortunately, we never got to do that crawfish bowl that we were always talking about. But what is your favorite thing to eat when you go back, and what is your favorite thing to cook?
So normally when I go back, I normally get a seafood platter from whatever restaurant I go to, because it's a little bit of everything. Like you get fried catfish. You get some crawfish, shrimp, hush puppies, a bowl of gumbo, and some jambalaya.
Yum. Oh, gumbo is so
I
good.
like to order the seafood platter. My favorite thing to cook is probably crawfish bread. Well, it's been crawfish bread since I've been out here. Crawfish bread and gumbo.
Crawfish
What
bread.
people request the most.
What? So tell me about crawfish bread. I've never had that.
So like traditional po' boys is you stuff it with lettuce, tomato, some mayonnaise, and put like fried catfish or shrimp. With the crawfish bread, you take the loaf of bread and you cut like a V shape in the top. You take some sauteed green onions, bell peppers, garlic, and you saute that up with some crawfish and top it off with cheese. You pour that in the slot that you cut off of the loaf and then put it in the oven for about 20 minutes.
Oh my God. I shouldn't be talking to you about this because I can't get any of this in New York, especially not right now. And it makes me want all of this because it's just, oh my gosh. And I miss because a lot of New Orleans food has, New Orleans has its own type of food, but it's also very Southern food that I grew up with that I miss. Like the one of the main things that I miss about living in South Carolina is it's cheap. It's so much cheaper than living in New York. But one of the other things, other than disposable income, that I miss is just the food, just the amazing food that you get in the South that you just don't. There are Southern cooking places in New York, but it's not the same. It is not the same.
Yeah, I miss the variety. Because like you say, I can find fried catfish or I can find red beans and rice. But
yeah, it's not the same.
In New Orleans, everyone wants their meal to be different. So you can go to 4 different places and their red beans are different at each place.
Oh man.
Or their po' boys are different. So it's everyone wants to be themselves. But it's here, you have the variety, but it's more like a national variety.
Right.
I can get, different nationals.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, they all cook the same food, but it's all different.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sad now. I want crawfish boil. We can get crab boil and stuff up here. There's some really good crab bowls, and there's actually a great place near us that does Southern crab boil and yum. But I haven't seen any place where I could actually get crawfish. Crawdads is what we called them when I was a kid. You know what I miss the most or most often is barbecue, and I mean pulled pork barbecue sandwiches when I talk about barbecue, because in the South, it's it depends on where you are in the South. You say barbecue and it means different things to different people. In New York, you say barbecue and they think brisket or ribs. And I'm no, I mean pulled pork sandwiches and just ground up pulled pork basically that's been we used to have pig pickings when I was young and just had the whole thing. We can just sit here forever talking about food. I don't want to keep you forever. And I am now thoroughly starving for some good food. Oh man. But so you have won the game. Thank you so much for playing. And that's basically the end of the podcast. Where can people find you? If you want to be found, if you don't want to be found, that's absolutely fine.
I'm on LinkedIn. My email. Well, I guess how do you find people on LinkedIn?
You just put in their names. You just put in your name. His name is Andre Coleman. Anything you would like to promote while you're here?
Not really no promotions. No.
That's fine. That is absolutely fine. Yeah, with game devs, especially the way not even just the industry, but just the landscape of the way how people treat game devs. So many people, when I'm hey, where can people find you? They're I don't want to be found. Don't find me. Don't mind me. I'm going to be over here making my video games in peace, and you can put a shout out into the ether if you maybe they'll see it, maybe they won't. But you can follow me. I'm Jess. You can follow me on Blue Sky. I'm at caketeas.bsky.social. I'm on Instagram at cake_teas. Again, it's not a sexual thing. I used to be a cake decorator. So thank you so much for listening to Stupid Little Games. Please follow or subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you liked it, please consider giving us a review. It really helps us out. It gets us in front of people. More reviews we have, the more like algorithms we kind of get into. And, we're all like beholden to the algorithms. Also, I've never said this before, but if you want to sponsor an episode of the podcast, please just reach out to me. You can DM me on Blue Sky or on Instagram. Again, that's caketeas.bsky.social or at cake_teas. If you'd like to, we've gotten, we just passed 1,000 something downloads, which I'm really excited about. They're on Apple and Spotify. So it was a big milestone for me. We're still a newer podcast. I've only been doing this since the beginning of November. So we've got just thank you to everybody who's been listening. I've been getting people asking questions. I get other people that are telling all their friends about the podcast. And I just really appreciate it because you're all just the best. And yeah, that's how podcasts grow. And I really appreciate it. So this podcast is hosted and executive produced by me, Jess Pardue. Our logo and theme music are by the super talented Bayard Russell. Final editing and audio engineering are by Gabe Koski, a man whose wheel is spinning, but the hamster is dead. So from me and Andre, see you next Tuesday.